Alright, what's up you guys? Welcome to another action figure review, as today we're going to be looking at the 2024 30th Anniversary Streaks figure, or Blades as his original name happened to be. And this is basically 4 out of the 4 Bolton brothers, so if you haven't seen the other 3 reviews on the channel, go ahead and check it out. Again, I'm really excited to see how this figure holds up compared to the original vintage version, which we'll do a comparison later on by the end of the review. So without wasting any more time, let's take a look at the packaging first, and we'll see how great the figure really is out of package. Alright, so looking at the figure itself, I think it's one of the better looking figures within the RetroShARK's line, just because the whole color scheme of just the entire box art is just freaking fantastic, so it looks really great. It does say Combat Claws Fin Line Skates, which is part of the gimmick, which we'll get into in a little bit. So it's the RetroShARK's logo, which is one of my favorites, Streaks, and again, his other name would have been considered as Blades if you're familiar with the RetroShARK's line. It says, "Try me, I bite from Mattel." This side, we can see the shark cage looking really cool, same text there. On the back of the figure, we can see the gimmick of what the figure comes with, and the bio of the figure, which is really cool. And then the other figures that are part of the wave now, but I will focus mostly on the 4 Bolton brothers. And then we have the really cool mural, which I think is one of the cool additions to the RetroShARK's line. We can see the little cutout here for the gimmick, which we'll get into a little bit later. And in here we can see some cool little new feature that they added within this figure is interchangeable hands, which we'll get into, swap out for Combat Claws. Really awesome, and other than that, looks pretty great. So let's go ahead and crack this figure open and see how great it really is. Alright, and here we have Streaks out of package, and we can see him within his shark cage. Now the really cool thing about this figure, as I mentioned from all the previous reviews, is that the other brothers are mostly sitting down, whereas this figure, he's actually standing upright in the actual cage, which is very, very different and new for the figure, just because he's also rocking these cool roller blades, which we'll get into in a bit. But other than that, I'm very pleased with how this figure just overall aesthetically looks, because being the tiger shark, he just looks freaking fantastic. So all that looking pretty well. So let's go ahead and take him out of the cage and see the final verdict of, does this figure hold up even better than the original? Alright, so now we officially have Streaks out of the package, but before we take a look at him, let's take a look at his accessories, which are the interchangeable claws that he comes with. Now this is a fantastic new addition and gimmick to the actual figure, as in just a little bit we'll take a look at what it really offered in the beginning, but just the fact that they added these 2 new clawed hands is freaking awesome, and you can see the pegs right there. And yeah, really nice coloring, nice detail, and nice gloves for that matter, especially having the nice little light blue color there. So yeah, very impressive, really awesome, and just a nice little attention to detail for this figure. So I'm very, very pleased that they added something completely new that the original version did not have. Alright, and now rolling his way onto the screen, let's take a look at how Streaks really holds up. And I will say, this is probably, again, one of my favorite out of the 4 Bolton brothers, and he just looks absolutely incredible. I love the little sparkling type of paint that they used for this figure. I love the light blue aesthetic. The purples came out really, really nice because him being a tiger shark, so you can see the little tiger stripes on him too. The top of the paint came out freaking it's just a very beautiful, well done figure. I love the little gradient fade from the darker blues to the lighters into the torso, which came out fantastic. The teeth are all nice pearlescent white with nice pink gums. The pants is really great for what it is, more jagged edges right there for the top. And again, for those that watched the cartoon will know that this isn't cartoon accurate, because I believe he did wear light or lime green pants, whereas this is more of the old 90s Mattel version, but hopefully we'll get a cartoon accurate Streaks at some point. But nonetheless, knee pads, really great, and the big highlight here is his skates, because if you remember or lived through the 90s, you will know that rollerblading was one of the best pastime hobbies for sure. And then we can see him rolling through, so really nice looking gimmick, pretty smooth wheels. Looking really good. I love how they kind of colored the laces as well. Really nice. And he does have articulation at the arms so you can basically move it outwards. The elbows don't bend too much, but you can see how there is some articulation there, and then he does have articulation at the wrist as well. So of course we know that you can add the newer claws with it. So we'll see the gimmick from the old 90s when we do the comparison, but I think again just having these newer claws is just freaking awesome, and I just love everything about this figure and how it really holds up. And just because he is holding the rollerblades, I think that the articulation is probably a lot better, just in the sense that you can give him more posability. The legs can move up slightly forward that way, which is pretty cool. Not too much back, but you know, not really much of a knee articulation, but does work for what it is. And overall, I think it just works really well. I think the body proportions of this figure came out really fantastic, and I love it. And one of the cool things is of course the eyes have the nice little 2 white dots right there, giving it a big shine. Even when you're looking at him straight forward, he looks really awesome. So there is some nice texturing right there onto the pants. You can see some line work and some really great sculpting. All that, boots, knees, rollerblades, freaking great. And you know, there's some people that would prefer all 4 wheels, but you know, to be a master at the blades, you got to have at least 2, which is more accurate for what it is in the 90s. So overall, I will say this figure is really great. I have no issues, no complaints. It's a fantastic looking figure, and now other than that, there's nothing else to do but to look at the comparison of this Streeks or Blades figure with the original 90s one. Alright, and here we have the 2024 Streeks or Blades figure compared to the original 90s. Now here is a very interesting plot twist, in the sense that the old 90s one is actually taller than the newer 2024 version. So I find that interesting, as when you look at the comparisons of other figures of this line, you'll see that the newer versions are taller than the old ones, but in this case, the old one is taller than the new one. So very fascinating for that matter. We can see rolling, as you can see, this one still has the nice roller blades. We can see that they have roughly the same shades of blue, which is really cool. And the big comparison here is that aside from his mouth being open, here we can see his jaw also opens as well, so nothing too new there. And yeah, the mouth is more open compared to a closed mouth. You can see that he has more of a bigger nose on this one compared to the left one. Side profile, this is what I was talking about in terms of the gimmick, where here in the 90s version, you had this orange little pipe thing that's sticking out from his right shoulder, and if you were to press it, you can see his nails kind of just grow out or kind of launches out. So instead of doing that and kind of ruining the newer figure, they best decided to just give us a newer clawed hands. So great addition. Can't really go wrong with that. We can see that they kind of took away most of the stripes from the newer version compared to the old one, and added a few more in the older one compared to the newer one. And we have some new paint apps right there on the gloves compared to the old one. And then still nicely 4 wheels, more of a darker-ish yellow compared to like a neon yellow. Same orange, nails, pants, and knee pads, roughly the same texture, same sculpting, which is really cool. Now you will notice that if you own these figures, that the scraping of colors does happen on the torso much more with these figures than the new ones. So you can see how it's like turning more lighter blue here. Hopefully this isn't the case with the newer ones, but it's still great for what it is. Other than that, mostly the figure side profile, you can see that this one has more of a cartoon accurate feel in terms of its mouth design and proportions, whereas this one feels more of a toyish version. I don't know if that makes any sense, but you know, you can see how it's fading color from the blues, because it has been like 30 years since owning this one. So but I like the fact that they both do the skating, and the back of the figure roughly the same. And again, very just surprised at the fact that the newer one is just a little bit shorter than the old one. So I still think it's good for what it is, but nonetheless, it's a fantastic figure to own into your collection, and you really can't go wrong with it. Alright you guys, so here we have Streeks with his packaging and the old original 90s version, and I will say, compared to all the other 3 that I reviewed within this line, I think Streaks will probably be my favorite Street Sharks just because it's badass with the 90s aesthetic of the rollerblades, and you cannot go wrong with that. So other than that, I will say that with this one still being holding up as one of the greatest Street Sharks figures of all time, I still love this new one, especially with the articulation and the torsos and all that stuff, and how they nicely painted and give it more of an accurate feel compared to the older version, and it's still great for what it is. So if you don't own any of these, go ahead and do so, because it's just freaking fantastic, and I highly recommend you buy it. So other than that, thank you all for watching. Be sure to give a like and subscribe, and I'll see you all in the next episode.